Out of all the decisions you will make as a photographer, filmmaker, or creative, your workstation is the epicenter of your creativity. My decision to move back to Windows was a completely strategic business move. My name is Sydney Baker Green, and this is why I chose Windows, and more specifically, the Razer Blade, as my workstation. What's good, everybody? My name is Sydney. For those of you guys who are new to my channel, I'm an international photographer, content creator, and cinematographer, and today's video is talking about my switch from MacBooks and the Mac OSX operating system to the Razer Blade and, of course, Windows OS. As some of you guys may know, I rarely on this channel say I am hard fast by any rules. I say if Sony works for you, go with Sony. I say if you like Canon glass over Sigma glass or Sigma glass over Canon glass, do what you want to do. Rent your gear, don't take my word for it. But this is probably going to be one of the few times on my channel where I take an absolute stance where I say I firmly believe you get more bang for your buck, and not in a I'm a cheap way, not in a I want to save money way. I'm talking in just a straight out, these are the specs, this is what you get, this is the performance you get way. You get way more value when using a Windows operated machine versus a MacBook. It's scientifically proven with many tests out there. I'm not here to conduct tests on which renders faster. I think YouTube has pretty much set the record straight that the best way to run Premiere Pro, the best way to run Resolve, the best way to run all of these programs, and also the cheapest way is to use a Windows-based machine. But today I'm going to give you guys my reasons on why I specifically chose Windows, and more specifically the Razer Blade Pro when it comes to my setup as a travel cinematographer and destination wedding photographer. Now the first one is price overall, and we're going to break this down into many categories. But needless to say, as creatives, we cannot waste our money for the sake of brand loyalty. And I was a long-time MacBook user, but the things I was looking for as I upgraded all of my equipment, my camera and my workstation, all my lenses, my stabilizers, so on and so forth, what I looked for in a workstation was power, portability, and performance. When I looked at the MacBook, I got portability, but compared to some of the Windows counterparts, I was lacking power and performance, which is the main reason why I chose the Razer Blade. But on top of that, the fact that the price of the Razer Blade is very comparable to the price of the MacBook, but you get way better performance on the Razer Blade simply made my decision easier. But let's break that down into another subcategory. That subcategory is going to be the cost of hardware. This is a big reason why the MacBook has really started to take the trail in a lot of categories, especially when it comes to performance, which simply put is the price of the hardware. The hardware that you're getting in a MacBook nowhere near pushes innovation as much as a company that claims to love innovation should. But point blank period, you get watered down specs for the name Apple. And that I find across the board with the iPhone and a lot of Apple products as well, is that you get late generation technology compared to all of these computers out here who are pushing new generation technology. And that is just a fact. Apple, even in their iPhones, uses the A6 Cortex, A9 Cortex processors for their phones, which are Samsung's old technology. Fun fact. I digress. As a photographer, cinematographer, we know money and jobs are not always easy to come by. So I wanted to put my money in something that was of value, something that was going to perform and be there when I needed it to be. And not only that, but I also wanted something that was going to last me. I didn't want buyer's remorse. I didn't want to get a laptop that just looked good. I needed a laptop that performed. And that's why I went with the Razer Blade. I want to be able to edit when I'm coming back from a wedding. And although MacBooks handle photo well, I know I'm starting to get into more visual effects work as well. And that is simply a category that the MacBook is probably going to choke on. You're not going to be able to push all of your creative possibilities with a MacBook. And that is what I was looking for as a creative, is simply the power to create. A lot of our times, gear is not what should limit us. But when we get to a point where we're good in our disciplines and we're well-rounded photographers and creatives, gear can become a limitation when we need to push the envelope on our work. So breaking that down into the cost of hardware, this also comes to another main point, which is performance overall. The main reason I wanted to get a new laptop from my old MacBook Pro was simply the fact that when I got my Mavic Pro, the 4K files even made Final Cut Pro X choke. And that to me is not acceptable. And a lot of the things you'll hear from Apple enthusiasts are oh, well, Apple really optimizes their hardware and for their programs and Final Cut works good. But I'm not just straight up a Final Cut user. I like the Premiere Suite, and even more so, I like DaVinci Resolve. Those are the programs that I tend to use the most. And on top of that, I want to do VFX work, like I said before. These are simply tasks that a MacBook could not handle. If you guys watched my video, Welcome to Detroit, which was my Mavic Pro cinematic, it was a 4K cinematic that didn't even have the highest bit rate, and that was 45 minutes to export for what I believe was, I think, no more than a 3-minute video. That to me was taking away time that I could be using, especially since it was taking all of my computer's resources. I had no ability to multitask, which again made the decision to switch even more. But when I looked at the specs of the MacBook, I'm like, well, this isn't adding up. I'm gonna get the same problem down the road. Especially now since Nvidia has came out with their Max-Q GPU designs, which basically takes a desktop GPU, throttles back the performance a little bit for the sake of cooling, and puts it in a laptop. Since we have that performance capability now, the fact that we're using ATI, or what I believe now is AMD cards in the MacBooks and even the Mac Pro, is just simply disappointing. I feel like we're getting watered down specs and being fed the same price, the same way I feel that way about the iPhone, the Galaxy S9, and even some cameras out there. The only industry that I feel has not become complacent when it comes to revolutionary updates is the Windows side. And even the switch to RTX was a little bit more of an evolutionary update than one that was revolutionary. Which brings another point, long-term use. As a photographer and creative, we don't want to be looking to upgrade our gear constantly. Gear costs money. And our whole point of running these businesses is to save money. That should actually just be a nice adult financial responsibility, which is to save money. But I didn't want to buy a laptop and feel like I needed to upgrade a year later because they finally decided to push innovation. I didn't want to buy a laptop and feel like I had buyer's remorse because it didn't perform. And I knew that it wasn't going to get much better at the moment, or at least in the next few years, with the Nvidia 1060, 1080 Razer Blade. That whole line out there right now. I knew it was going to be sort of an evolutionary update to the RTX 2080. Simply put, that's just the best way to put it. They're not gonna be able to push innovation that much. I do believe they will decide to eventually. But I'm using an older Razer Blade model. I'm not even using the 2080 RTX, and I feel no need to upgrade outside of the fact of form factor. I think the new Razer Blade has a nice form factor, but that brings a very important point to my creative business. I don't have to upgrade. It's not a necessity. It's a want. And I can say, hey, I don't need that. I just want that versus, no, I really need to upgrade. So I'm spending money when I could be saving money. And you see how the cycle goes. And I guess and for an overall Windows point, when it comes to portability, I chose a laptop that even kicks the pants off of some of the same generation desktops that came out at the time, especially if you're looking on the Mac side. But say I didn't want portability, I was okay with having a desktop, coming home and doing all my work. Say I was just based in my city and I did work in my city, or I was okay with not, editing on my long flights and when I'm away or creating travel stuff. I could have put that money from my Razer Blade into a desktop and got even more performance on the Windows side. I believe the price of my laptop is what would buy me what we consider the ultimate Premiere Pro performance machine on the Windows side. And that is what it comes down to, is money. And that is my final point. What it came down to for me choosing Windows over Mac OSX and the MacBook was I abandoned brand loyalty for the sake of making a smart decision, not only as a business owner, not only as an adult, but as a smart consumer. I'm no longer going to support a company that waters down their products when they claim to push innovation. I am tired of seeing evolutionary updates in the tech world where we could be pushing innovation. Our world is so highly commercialized that consumers blindly buy the latest and greatest because it has a good advertisement. But as a tech user, this is where a lot of us creatives get separated. There's the tech creatives who are just creative business owners and creatives who also love technology. That's where you see the switch to Windows. That's why more people are coming out and saying, hey, I see what's going on. I've seen your track record, your list of specs. You're dropping the ball. That's why they've been switching to Windows. I feel like I kind of was the oddball out because I switched to Windows and wanted to switch to Windows a long time ago. I bought a MacBook and instantly regretted selling my, what I believe was, it's Asus. It was an Asus ROG gaming laptop. I sold that and I paid the price of performance for a nice shiny MacBook. I felt stupid. And I'll never make that decision again. So if you guys like this video, be sure to give me a big thumbs up, show me that support and love, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. I'm trying to hit 100,000 by the end of the year, but if I don't, 10K, 4K, 5K, whatever works, show me that love and support, and be sure to follow me on my social media. The links are in the description down below. And follow the YouTube fam. Their links are also in the description down below. And if you haven't already heard, I'm still hosting my giveaway. You can enter, again, you know where the link is, in the description down below. If you ever feel like you want to give up, you ever start hating photography, filmmaking, or simply don't know what you want to do with your passion, remember, every day, airplanes take off against the wind. Live, love, laugh, stay inspired, and as always, stay fabulous. My name is Sydney, and I will see you guys soon. Peace out. Until next time.